Hi, subscribe to the channel. News stories every day. Let's get started. My name is James Hunter, and for the last 6 years of my marriage to Anna, I told myself everything was as it should be. We had a modest home in a quiet suburb north of Atlanta, with a yard big enough for a small garden. Our son Oliver had just turned 4, always bounding around the living room with crayons in hand, leaving a trail of bright scribbles on paper and occasionally on the walls. I worked in construction project management, a job that was both demanding and lucrative enough to cover our bills comfortably. But it had one big downside. I was away from home more often than not, sometimes up to a week at a time, when overseeing projects in other parts of the state. The pay was good and it meant we could afford a decent life, but it also meant Anna spent a lot of evenings, weekends, and bedtimes without me. That was the arrangement we both agreed on at the beginning. Better to have a stable future, she said, even if it means I see you less. At first, we found ways to make it work. I'd call every night, no matter how late I got back from the construction site. She put Oliver on speaker so I could hear his bedtime babble. I promised to bring them some souvenirs from whichever place I was temporarily based in. Anna never really complained directly, only sometimes hinting that Oliver was a handful on her own, or that nights were lonely. I'd reassure her that if it ever got too tough, we'd figure out another plan. And for the longest time, I believed we were okay. 1. Subtle shifts. A year ago, though, I started noticing something off about Anna, small changes that collectively added up to a sense of unease. For one, whenever I came home from a week away, the greeting was no longer warm or excited. Before, she'd run to the door in slippers, pulling me into a hug, asking how the drive was. Now, she might just wave from the kitchen or sometimes not even appear until I went looking for her. She'd give me a quick hello, then resume whatever she was doing, as if my return was simply routine. Her style changed too. She used to wear casual jeans or comfy yoga pants, especially on nights in with Oliver. But I began seeing more night out outfits, sleek black dresses, new high heels that sat in the closet. The grocery receipts included charges for a local pub or bar, which was unusual. Anna historically disliked loud or crowded places, let alone bars. One evening, after Oliver was asleep, she mentioned she'd been going out with a couple of friends to blow off steam. I recall raising an eyebrow. Bars? You never cared for that scene. She shrugged. I got bored, James. Sometimes I just need adult conversation or a change of scenery. My friend Carrie goes to that place all the time. Anyway, it's harmless. There was a slight edge in her voice I'd never heard before, as if she was daring me to challenge her. So I let it be. Everyone changes. She was alone so often, maybe a bar with her friends was just a new pastime. But it didn't sit right, because each time I'd return from being away, I'd find some new sign that Anna's nightlife was ramping up. More mention of girls' nights, heavier perfume on Hamper's laundry, or a babysitting arrangement with her mother that I only learned about at the last minute. She claimed it was last-second planning, though. Meanwhile, Oliver was left with his grandmother, Margaret, a sweet older woman who never seemed to question why Anna was heading out so much. 2. The growing suspicions. I told my coworker and friend Kyle about my concerns. We were having a break at one of the construction, sipping black coffee from thermoses. Maybe she's just coping with your absence in a weird way, he suggested. She might not be cheating, man. Could be she's depressed or resentful. Maybe therapy? I liked that idea, but I wasn't sure how to approach Anna without sounding accusatory. We'd never had serious fights about my travel. At worst, we'd argue that Oliver needed more fatherly presence. Then she'd back down, remembering it was for the family's financial stability. But one night, a friend in the neighborhood, Jade, made a passing comment. I saw Anna the other evening looking all dolled up, but she wasn't with her usual girlfriends. She was in that bar on Oak Street, right? She walked out with a guy. Jade quickly tried to backpedal, insisting she might have been mistaken. The lighting was dim, but the seed was planted. Curiosity turned into worry. I told Anna about Jade's comment in a half-joking manner. So, I heard you're stepping out with some random dude. Care to explain? She glared at me, calling Jade a gossip who likes stirring trouble. I was there with Carrie and her cousin for your information, she insisted. If Jade can't see properly, that's on her. Then she clammed up, walked off to the bedroom, and let me stew in doubt. That same night, as Oliver slept, I strolled through the house restlessly, noticing how Anna's phone was always locked with a new passcode. She had changed it recently, which I only found out when I tried to open her phone to update an app for Oliver. She snapped that I should respect her privacy. This was brand new territory. We'd been open about phones for years. 3. The decisive plan. I realized I wouldn't get answers by direct confrontation. If she was lying, she'd keep lying. So I hatched a plan. I told Anna I had to leave for a week for an urgent project near Savannah. This was not entirely untrue. My boss had asked if I was available for an upcoming job, but I said no, I prefer a break. The difference is I told Anna yes, I'd go. So ironically, I took a secret week's vacation instead of going to the site. I arranged a crash at Mike, another friend who lived about 20 minutes away from my home. Anna presumably thought I was hours away up to my necking building deadlines. Day one of my trip came, and I left with a small suitcase to keep up appearances. Oliver was a bit sad to see me off, but I had done it many times, so he was used to quick goodbyes. Anna gave me the usual safe drive wave. No real emotion in her face. My heart twisted, but I forced a smile. That same evening, I used a second-hand car borrowed from Mike. He had a small Toyota to tail Anna. She left the house around 8:30 p.m. wearing an outfit I'd never seen. A sleek black skirt, red heels. My gut clenched. She told me over text, ironically, that she was winding down at home with Oliver, as if she forgot I was out of town. Another lie. She drove to the bar on Oak Street. I recognized it from Jade's mention. It had that neon sign reading the Maple Lounge. I parked discreetly a few spaces away and watched her step inside. My nerves were raw. Was I a fool? Possibly, but I needed to see. Half an hour later, I mustered the courage to approach. If I found her with a random new friend, maybe it wasn't necessarily cheating, perhaps just an innocent conversation, but my fear told me otherwise. Inside was typical bar chaos, thumping music, chatter, clusters of men and women leaning close over high-top tables, bartenders rushing. I tried to blend in, wearing a baseball cap and a plain jacket. Didn't want Anna to see me before I found her. Then, near the far corner, in a booth lit by a flickering overhead light, I spotted the familiar hair and posture of my wife. I froze. She sat with a single man, not with multiple girlfriends. She was perched on the edge of his lap, apparently giggling at something he said. His arm draped around her waist. The intimate body language was unmistakable. My heart hammered so loud, I almost thought the entire bar could hear it. A swirl of anger, betrayal, heartbreak overcame me. The unfaithful spouse I dreaded was real. I took a deep breath and stormed forward. 4. The clash in the bar. Approaching them, I heard Anna's laugh, higher and more carefree than I'd heard in months. She was telling him something about how my husband's never around, so I might as well enjoy some fun. Then she noticed me. Her eyes widened in terror, cheeks going pale. Her new companion, some tall, well-dressed guy, looked from her to me with confusion. "Who's this?" he mumbled. I didn't even speak to him first. I stared at Anna. "That's a good question, Anna. Who is this?" The color drained from her face. She scrambled off his lap. "James. Why are you here? I thought you were out of town." I half-laughed, bitterness seeping out. "Yeah, I was supposed to be, but guess what? I took time off because I suspected you were lying about everything." The guy tried to intervene, raising his hands in a defensive gesture. "Look, man, I didn't know she was." I cut him off with a harsh glare. I turned back to Anna, voice low but fierce. Asterisk, asterisk, Oliver's 4 years old, Anna. Our kid's at home, actually. You probably stuck him with your mother again. And you're here with him." I jerked my chin at the man. She stammered, tears welling. "It's not what it looks like, James. Please, let's not do this here." But I was done with caution. You lied to me for months. How many nights did I come home to find out you were just with girlfriends? All this time it's been some random guy in a bar. The tension in that corner of the bar was thick. People nearby started to notice, the music overshadowing some words, but the tone was clear. A furious confrontation. The man tried to stand, placing a hand on my shoulder. "Easy. Let's talk outside. No need to cause a scene." I shoved his arm away. My fist itched to swing, but I contained it. Instead, I hissed, "Don't you dare touch me." He stepped back, face set in a nervous scowl. Anna quickly grabbed my sleeve. "James, calm down." Her voice cracked, tears streaming. "We can talk at home." I stared at her, heart twisting with the realization that everything we built was undone. Then, mustering what dignity I could, I pointed toward the exit. We're leaving now. You want to fix this? Fine. We do it away from an audience, but don't expect me to swallow this quietly. With that, I turned and walked out. Anna followed, stumbling in her heels, while the man was left behind. My chest felt hollow, but adrenaline kept me going. 5. The unraveling at home. The drive back was silent. Anna was texting or calling someone from the passenger seat, likely the guy or possibly her mother. I didn't know. My entire body was shaking from anger and heartbreak. Once home, the door closed behind us like a final gong. Without waiting, I demanded an explanation, voice quavering. How long, Anna? How long has this been going on? She broke down in tears, admitting it started 6 months ago. She claimed she never meant for it to get serious, but she was lonely, resentful of my constant travel. She insisted there was no deeper love with that man, just excitement or attention she felt deprived of. You're never around James, he made me feel alive. Her words stung like knives. And Oliver? I asked bitterly, where does he fit in your new definition of feeling alive? She sobbed harder, saying she left him with her mother so he wouldn't be neglected. Then a swirl of excuses. You're always working. I was bored. I was upset. I made a mistake. The more she spoke, the less I recognized her. I realized that, in her mind, my job was to blame for everything. Yet I'd done it all for the family, for her, for Oliver. An hour of shouting, tears, confessions, and blame passed. Finally, physically exhausted, I collapsed onto the couch. I don't know if I can even look at you right now. We've got a child. I can't just vanish, but I also can't pretend we can fix this easily. She tried to kneel by me, tried to put a hand on my shoulder, but I shrugged her off. Don't. Just don't. My voice cracked, tears threatening. 6. The mother-in-law's verdict. At some point, Anna's phone rang. I heard her mother's voice, Margaret, concerned. Anna started crying anew, claiming she messed up badly. Within half an hour, Margaret was at our doorstep, Oliver in tow. The child was asleep in her arms, lulled by the late hour. Margaret placed him gently in his bedroom, then joined us in the living room, hands on her hips. She glanced between us. Anna, is it true? Did I interpret your meltdown on the phone correctly? You've been stepping out on James. Anna nodded, face down, tears unstoppable. I was sure Margaret would side with her daughter, but surprisingly, she turned on Anna. I suspected something was strange. You've been leaving Oliver with me so frequently at night, always an excuse. And you, James, you didn't even know. I had my suspicions, but thought if it was important, you'd mention it. God, I can't believe this. I was speechless. She was scolding Anna more than me. Margaret faced me. I'm so sorry, James. I can't defend her this time. If you want to move forward with a separation, I understand. I'll do anything to help Oliver adjust. She's my daughter, but you're not the villain here. She is. Anna cried. Mom, please. It's not that simple. James is away so often. I felt lonely. But Margaret glared, and that justifies sneaking around with some random bar guy. Instead of talking to your husband or going to therapy, it's inexcusable. She sighed, turning to me with a weary expression. James, how can I help? I told her I needed time. Possibly I'd stay at a friend's place or have Anna do so. The entire night, Oliver fortunately stayed asleep. By morning, the tension soared once more. Anna tried to approach me with fresh apologies, but I was numb. 7. Contemplating a future or lack thereof. Over the next few days, I lingered in a strange limbo. Part of me wanted to salvage something for Oliver's sake. Another part couldn't unsee her perched on that man's lap, smiling in a way she rarely smiled at me anymore. Anna was contrite, yes, but also attempted to shift blame onto my job. She said, if you were around more, I wouldn't have needed to fill that void. That remark sealed my final perspective. She was so blind to her own wrongdoing that she pinned it on me. Even if we tried couples counseling, I realized I'd always suspect her. The trust was burned to ashes. Margaret tried to mediate, quietly urging Anna to fight for her marriage, but also acknowledging that I had every right to leave. Meanwhile, Oliver sensed something was off. He asked me, why is Mommy crying? I had no easy answer, except to hold him close, saying we were going through grown-up problems, but both loved him. One evening, Anna approached me in the living room while Oliver was playing with Legos in the next room. She wore an expression of dread, holding some documents. James, she began softly, I know you might decide to divorce. I wanted to talk about how we handle property or custody. I don't want to fight you in court. Let's be civil. My chest tightened. I'd always pictured that if we parted ways, it would be a messy legal war. Yet now I realized maybe we could keep the meltdown from scaring Oliver entirely. So I nodded. We can handle it civilly. She flinched, probably from the finality in my tone. That was the moment I decided it was truly over. When your wife, someone who was once your best friend and partner, resorts to practical negotiations about custody, you know the emotional bond is severed. We spent the next day or two with some basic discussions about finances. I told her I would keep paying the mortgage if she wanted to move out and get an apartment, or she could stay short term and I'd move in with Kyle. But in the end, we realized it was simpler for me to remain in the house I'd mostly financed and for her to find a place closer to her mother. For Oliver's sake, I wanted him to remain in the environment he knew. Over the next week, she packed her clothes, some furniture, children's items she specifically wanted. Oliver stayed at his grandmother's a lot during that packing to avoid traumatic scenes. Eventually, I came home from a short site visit to find Anna's car loaded up. She gave me a final teary apology. I offered no comforting words. We parted with a quiet handshake. Unbelievably cold for two people who once thought they'd spend a lifetime together. 8. The formal divorce and the aftermath. The official divorce was relatively swift. Anna got partial custody of Oliver, with weekends or certain weekdays based on her new schedule. I kept the house, though I promised I'd never keep Oliver from her. She told me she might stay at her mother's temporarily while searching for an affordable apartment. I told her I'd try to coordinate for Oliver's schooling so he wouldn't suffer too big a disruption. Word spread among neighbors and friends that Anna had left me for some bar fling. Some folks asked if it was salvageable. I told them no. Kyle, my coworker friend, was outraged on my behalf. She had everything, man. You gave her a stable home and decent life. I just shrugged. Some hearts wander, I guess. Margaret, ironically, kept in touch with me more than Anna did. She asked often if I or Oliver needed anything. I respected that. At least someone on her side recognized the damage done. Anna evidently parted ways with that bar companion soon after. Some acquaintances said it was just a short fling. She apparently realized he wasn't father material or something. The irony was bitter, but I tried not to dwell on it. As the months rolled on, Oliver adapted to the new routine. I'd have him on weekdays. Anna sometimes took him on weekends or half the week. Depending on my out-of-town assignments, I cut back on some travel, ironically, now that it was just me. The heartbreak remained, but day by day, I found a new normal. The house was emptier, but it was honest emptiness. No secrets. Occasionally, Anna would text me, purely about Oliver's schedule or some logistic. Her tone was cordial, but hollow. She never asked for a second chance, likely knowing I'd never say yes. And I never asked if she missed me, because if she did, it was too late. 9. Reflections on trust in the future. Now, as I stand in the living room Oliver used to share with both parents, I look at the couch where I'd find new outfits of Anna's thrown about, or I recall how I used to plan elaborate date nights to make up for lost time. Those days are gone. I've put away the wedding photos. The family album is stashed in a closet in case Oliver wants to see it someday, but I can't bear to display them openly. I realize I was naive, trusting wholeheartedly that a schedule of traveling half the month wouldn't strain us beyond repair. I'd do it all for Oliver, thinking Anna was comfortable. Maybe I missed signs of loneliness or discontent, but no matter how complicated her feelings, the method of dealing cheating was a line that kills a marriage. Sometimes I wonder if I'd done something differently, taken a local, lower-paying job or spent more evenings on video calls. Would that have prevented her from seeking thrills in a bar? Possibly. Possibly not. People who choose to cheat often blame circumstances, but truly, it's about their own moral failings or unwillingness to communicate. One thing I do appreciate is that Anna's mother recognized the gravity of her daughter's betrayal and supported me in ensuring Oliver's stability. Without that help, the transition might have been much harder for a toddler to handle. Oliver, for his part, is resilient, still bright and cheerful. He just knows he has two homes now, daddy's and mommy's. That's the new reality. I won't pretend it doesn't hurt. Late at night, sometimes I recall how I'd come home from a week out, exhausted, craving her warmth, only to find her eyes distant. The knowledge that she was with someone else sitting on his lap haunts me. But I'm forging a path forward, focusing on my son, my job, my own peace. Perhaps I'll trust someone again, but not anytime soon. For now, I hold on to what remains a stable environment for Oliver and the lesson that no matter how comfortable life seems, betrayal can appear from the shadows of inattention. And that's how my marriage ended. Not from endless fights or gradual drift, but from a shocking moment in a bar, seeing my wife laughing in another man's arms. A single night that destroyed years of companionship. The cost of ignoring all the subtle signs, and in the end, ironically, her own mother took my side, acknowledging that I'd done my part while Anna had chosen deception. So I stand here finalizing a few more details of the divorce papers, glancing around the living room once bustling with family life. Now it's just me and Oliver, and that's enough. We'll be all right. I close my eyes, take a breath, and accept that sometimes heartbreak is the necessary price for rediscovering one's self-worth or for saving a child from a home built on illusions. At the end of it all, I'd rather embrace the painful truth than live under comfortable lies any longer.